Previously on Artistic Workout.
Art history book. French realism. A travel video. Starachowice. Well, maybe not as sophisticated. Getty Lee's parents were from the town of Starachowice. The provincial artist group east of Poland. Very hospitable. To the most dangerous area of the world. The Suwałki Gap. The Russians will attack. Do I believe it? Feeling like a total loser. Humor. I tell myself a joke and I laugh. Feed on it. Don't rebel. Being true to one's culture. Buses, trams, trains. And they are contemporary. French realist. Historical scenes. We miss it. Difficult to see the beauty in the ordinary world. Terrible, dirty machines. Paris. I'm Polish and should I be doing a New York kind of art? The pierogi dish. Painting. How to paint it? Should you be third semester? Will be to paint their first memory. What is your first memory? Write in the comments. Something happened in the other part of the world. We're so much alike. Very versatile. Please subscribe, give it a like, and write in the comments. What is your first memory? And how do you remember? New academic year and some new equipment. It's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. God damn it. Back in my days, we were using pigeons to carry the information around. And now, look at this. Okay, so hello. Welcome to the next episode of Artistic Workout. What did the fox tell little piglets? How children of today are painting in the memory of the children of yesterday. And once again, my name is Bartosz Milewski. I have a doctorate and master's degrees in painting from the Fine Arts Academy in Kraków, Poland, and the BFA in painting and videography from Cornish College of the Arts in Seattle, Washington, United States. I mostly paint. I also draw about 1,000 sketches of humans a year. In my archive, as well as in my Polish language series from about 6 years ago, which is called Nie spać, tworzyć, which means don't sleep, create. I can see in these movies a younger and perhaps prettier version of myself through the lens of an SLR camera in a nicely lit setting. This time I tried my best, but it's a different technology altogether than what I was using, and so this young version of me is telling us, the viewers, that after moving to this neighborhood of Warsaw, he, which is I, was presented a task of making a project for a gray, one would say ugly wall in a residential part of blocks of flats complex in my part of the city. So adjacent to them is a gray wall, which formerly belonged to probably the Soviet army. I hope that the army, Soviet or Russian or whatever, is not coming back to these quarters. Adjacent to the wall is forest, one of many forests actually, because this larger district has almost 50% of the area being forested, which is really quite nice and beautiful. Back then, a few years ago, I met a neighbor who was running for a local office but did not make it. Perhaps because he hasn't been preparing long enough and nobody knew him. It's like, election, oh, okay, I have to put posters and let myself be known. But to say a nice thing about him, this complex character, he kept his promise. Even though he wasn't elected, he decided, well, one of my promises was to do something with the wall, and I'm not elected, but I will still do something about it. Especially that he had some political friends, as well as the mother. We will talk about her later. The secret weapon. The wall formerly belonged to the Soviet army. Now it belongs, I think, to the Polish army or the Special Forces Group GROM. The fact that the wall belongs to the army presented a problem with the permission to paint on it. So after going back and forth and red tape stuff, my neighbor, who by then had talked to the local authorities, taking me into the office as well, had one more card up his sleeve. The secret weapon, the mother. She stormed into the Ministry of Defense building shouting, "How dare you! How dare you! Not to give a permission to paint on your wall! The children of Poland are waiting for a colorful mural! Children are the future of this land!" Naturally, the army was not prepared for such an offensive or offense. Some years ago, the mother was probably, I think, the vice minister of defense or other high-ranking official. Now she's in the structures of more local government. But she used to work in the same building, the Ministry of Defense, and brutally stormed it on a certain warm spring day of 2019. How come there is no mention in the front, no monument? I don't know. But perhaps the mural is the monument. Oh no, the wall is so long! I was terrified, especially that it was already dark and chilly and it was fall, late fall. At the evening of the presentation, when my neighbor said, "Come on, let's go there and see it." "Okay," he said. "Make a project just for part of it." By the way, he also managed to convince the authorities to repair the sidewalk by the wall. At first I was thinking about something simple, but eventually I came up with 17 pictures which formed a story. Forest animals paying a visit to the playground at night. A fox told little boars that it would be fun. There are swings, there are carousels, there are slides or whatever you call them in English. Sounds like wonderful fun. Persuaded, the older pigs reluctantly agreed to all go on a field trip at night, the clock showing 3 a.m. Eventually, also the older animals enjoyed the swing and carousel and started to play soccer, which actually didn't end up very well. A car was struck, they had to escape because of the human neighbors being awakened. He was a doctor of medicine, as well as a writer of children's books and other literature, and an expert on children's upbringing, but more from a position of their equal, their friend, than somebody who's demanding discipline and punishing. So under his guides, the youngsters were issuing a newspaper. He also had his talks on the radio, none of which survived, unfortunately. Under his guide, the children also formed a parliament and a court, where in a Jewish orphanage located in the close to the center of Warsaw. First orphanage was located here in this street after the Jewish ghetto was established in Warsaw by the Nazi Germans, and it was the largest ghetto in the world, in Europe. The first orphanage was located outside its walls, and here we have it. It actually which is rare in Warsaw. It survived the war and now it is hosting a museum. The roof, unfortunately, has not survived in its previous form, and the roof was where Korczak had his room. And the Germans have moved the orphanage inside the ghetto. Only to relocate it once again to its final destination. The spirit of Warsaw, eclecticism, new, brand new, and the old, and people living their daily lives accompanied by history. A city rebuilt from the ashes. And what does Janusz Korczak have to do with the mural that I made a project for? So I incorporated him, so to speak, because of the memory of this great guy and because he was a frequent visitor to this area. You see, there once lived a man who lost his daughter Różyczka, which means little rose, to the Spanish flu epidemic after the First World War, I think. So this person became a donor to Korczak's orphans, giving some land for the orphanage to use. A building complex was built and it was named Różyczka in loving memory of the donator's daughter. It served as a summer retreat for the children. The wooden house is not standing anymore. It was demolished in 1960s. Why? I don't know. But something else was created that serves children to this day, because there are all these sports playgrounds open to the public, open to everybody, including children, used by children, called Syrenka, Little Mermaid. As for Janusz Korczak, whose books we still read, and we also watch films made on the basis of these books, for example, Król Maciuś I, King Maciuś, Little Maciek, Little Maciej I, a story about a boy who became a king. Janusz Korczak ended his life as a hero. Despite having many proposals to flee and to leave his orphans behind, he stood bravely by his children. The orphanage was now, in the 40s, surrounded and a part of the Jewish ghetto in Warsaw. And on one day, the children, dressed in their best clothes, marched towards the train station. The truth of their fate was spared from them. They were told they went on a field trip, but actually the destination of the train was final. And I read and I was told that he had the last chance offer from a double S man to flee. He was a recognized person not only in Poland but also in the rest of Europe. And he declined. Dr. Korczak was a playful figure. Once he was spotted jumping onto a moving tram thus committing an offense according to one of the paragraphs of the children's law, and was subsequently a subject to the children's tribunal. So were, by the way, some other supervisors or teachers at the orphanage. Everybody was equal. His other offense was to sneak into the kitchen of Różyczka complex at night with a group of youngsters to steal some jam or sweets, or so I was told by a person whose father worked for Korczak before the war, and I met this person, the son. I should also mention that I have 20 more pictures of the possible continuation of the mural. I'm grateful for what is, and I think this project now, I think of the project of the finished project not as my work, but the work of my neighbors now. It belongs to the children and their parents. My pictures, which were both in black and white outline form and color versions, were given to a company who paints murals professionally, I should say. The company executed the project with a nice twist proposed by them. When the outlines were transferred, children and everybody who basically wanted, so their parents and also the local authorities were present, were given diluted paints and painted the first layer of color, which was then the following days corrected by the company according to the original project. But it was a wonderful event. And another thing that somebody else contributed to, the vice mayor, because in Warsaw each district has a mayor. Actually, the way it's structured in Poland, everybody cares about their own district, which is very, very effective. So he came up with an idea, why not to put fake, obviously, animal traces on the pavement, traces of boars and foxes. I did some research and I made a stencils for these traces. I bought a special paint in a special store, paint that is used for painting on pavements. Some of them, my neighbors, got scared, even though boars don't leave painted tracks. But apparently the fear was so great that somebody was not able to think logically. I will discuss the technical aspects of making that project in one of the next episodes. And now I would like to thank you for watching, and please subscribe, leave a like or dislike. Comments are very useful, and I will see you in the next episodes. So thank you and bye bye.